this is very exciting for me. I'm like, this is crazy.
Oh, we used all your time.
What?
We used all your time.
Okay, so I am very, very critical and judgmental, especially with myself. And I've been...
Stop it.
I know. Well, that's the thing. I have this aggressive...
So what we were saying before you started speaking was sort of the answer to what you were going to say, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, get out now.
But how?
You're critical toward yourself?
Yeah.
Do you think that you are just regurgitating thoughts that you've been thinking for a while? And do you think you were under the influence of anybody else's thoughts?
Yeah. So I grew up in a highly critical environment and in Hollywood and in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
So...
But you know what? We want to tell you something really important. We really want you to feel the fullness of this. It'll sink in and it will make you feel good. And it'll give you a good basis for what comes next right here. It's not just when you're in an environment that's critical that you can tend to be critical of yourself. Do you know it happens even more often when you're in an environment where there are people who tune in and who hold you as their object of attention and who just love you so much, and it just feels so good, and you just want that and only that, and then you go out into the world where most people aren't tuned in. And the shock of the love that is natural and that you got used to, the shock of the absence of that in a society or a world that's just running around, just really freaks you out. You could say, I'm that way because people were critical, and others could say, I'm that way because I had this one person, usually my grandmother or someone, a mentor, often a teacher, who when they held me it felt so good and then everything else felt so bad.
Well, I feel like because I'm a singer and a musician, and when I sing, I know I'm channeling higher consciousness, and
sure.
It's like all the tension melts away and everything, and then...
And you're under that influence.
It's so nice. And then I have to interact with people. And they're finicky and...
But you know, Esther used to say occasionally, people are so mean. And Jerry would say, not all of them. Or, people are so dumb. When something would happen and Jerry would say, not all of them. All of the people are not critical. Your inner being is a nice place to communicate, but everyone is not critical. But when you get this mindset that they are, then law of attraction can't make a path of least resistance and therefore line you up with those who are loving. We sort of want you to get where you don't need them to love you in order to be love.
Yeah.
You're not looking for love in all the wrong places anymore.
Well, I fully get that. Like a lot of the time, I'm just like, oh my God, humans are so perfectly imperfect and funny.
Yeah.
And we all are so neurotic. And then like, I'll love everyone so much and just laugh.
But the question that you want to ask is, what influence was I under? Because that's why I rendezvoused with them under the influence of what they're under. If you're feeling vulnerable and victim, then you're going to rendezvous with them when they're like that. And if you're tapped in, tuned in, turned on, you're going to rendezvous with them when they're like that. And you came to a flawed premise that when you're doing your music, that nothing's in your way, but that when you're doing your human interaction, that humans are in your way. And it's only your perception that puts something in the way or nothing in the way.
I think it's just fear. Because sometimes I'm like...
Fear is you crossways of the current of your inner being. Fear is like satisfied gone wrong. Fear is far from satisfied. Fear is what you feel like when your inner being's over here and you're over here. Fear is what it feels like when you have a different opinion about this moment in time than your inner being does. You hear what's happening? Instead of going along with what your inner being knows, you're going along with what they're doing, and then you're blaming them because you went along with them.
Yeah. Well, I also have to say that I've been non-stop listening to your YouTube videos for years and really trying to implement them. But my inner critic uses that to like bash me over the head. It's like, you thought a bad thought. You did this wrong.
That's why we're wanting your emotional guidance system to not be something that you judge yourself about. We want it to be something where you know where you are vibrationally. Until these things are known by you, until you accept that you are more than this magnificent body. Do you accept that you're more?
Yes.
And do you accept that that more that you are is consciousness aware of you?
Yes.
And do you accept that that consciousness that is aware of you is always aware of you, not just sometimes, always aware of you?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're playing music, aware of you. When you're interacting with humans, aware of you. Can you accept that the better you feel, the more like your inner being you are being in that moment? Now we have a question. Do you think that your inner being, this is so good, do you think that your inner being would ever be critical of you?
No.
For any reason?
No.
Then when you're being critical of you, do you accept that you've moved away from your inner being?
Yeah.
And do you accept that it is the moving away from your inner being that makes you feel bad?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you follow that logic?
Yeah.
So when you say, I am my worst critic, you want to say, of course you are. You're the only one that can cause a rift between you and you.
Right. So that's everybody.
Nobody else has that power. That is everybody. Understanding it, then you stop giving all the power to all the misbehaviors.
Yeah.
You've stopped giving the power to the misbehaviors because you want them to like you. But you've turned on yourself instead. Somebody's got to pay for the way I feel right now. Got to be mad at somebody. Because innately, from the very core of your being, you know for sure that you're supposed to be feeling good. That's what's natural. And when you don't, it's like something's really jacked up.
Yeah. So I just want to share that the law of attraction I've been practicing since I was about 16, so I'm 27 now.
Been aware of it?
Yeah. And
do you practice the law of gravity, or does it just have its way with you?
It has its way with me, but the
law of attraction's the same. You don't practice it, it just does its thing.
Positive thinking, like I've rode the wave so
what
much.
You want to say, I've been practicing attunement with who I really am.
But I think I've experienced so much contrast at this point that when I give up on something, I'm like, okay, I'm done, I'm throwing in the towel. Someone offers me a huge record deal or something like that just happened to me, and I'm like,
you never give up your desires. What you give up is your resistance.
Yeah.
So when you reach that place, we think that your world is sort of reaching that place where there's so much bickering and so much controversy about so many things that you're not privy to the inside story of, that you're just reaching the place of saying, I don't want to think about this anymore, because you can't make sense of it. And when you reach that place of giving up, then all that your vortex became while you were in all of that struggle, then you have access to. So then there's that breakthrough, like what you just described.
So I'll tell you real quick what happened, because it's a crazy story, but
it's not crazy, it's law of attraction in action.
Okay, so I had extreme PTSD and panic disorder, and I just started isolating.
So you talk slowly, and we'll interpret for you as you go along. You'll enjoy this. And when you talk, we'll listen, and when we talk, you listen, all right?
Okay.
So
deal.
Repeat the sentence that you just made.
I had PTSD.
I had things that I focused upon that did not allow me connection with the fullness of who I am. And I felt pain in that discord.
Okay. What's confusing about that is I blocked all the memories out and my body just started shaking and stuff.
What's confusing about that is that I was offering vibrations that I wasn't conscious about, but my guidance system was aware of the vibrations that I was offering, so my guidance system was working anyway.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And then I just didn't trust anyone anymore.
I had put my trust in the wrong place to begin with. And since it was in the wrong place to begin with, it kept not working out. And law of attraction made it get more and more and more until, thank
you, I overdosed and woke up in a psych ward.
Until I listened to the fan. No, I didn't listen to the fan. Until I meditated. No, I didn't meditate. Until I took strong drugs, a lot of strong drugs, and in the process released all of my attention to all subjects and found alignment because I was no longer pushing against stuff.
So when I woke up in the psych ward, I had a complete new perspective on life.
Because during my unconsciousness, I released resistance for long enough that I gave myself a new vibrational set point.
And it's the greatest gift that's ever happened to me.
This is not the path we recommend.
Seriously, don't do what I've done.
But it is understandable, isn't it? Isn't it understandable given what you know about everything that we've been talking about? Makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And because my desire was so strong, it didn't matter what I believed, I found the path. And that was my path of least resistance. And it was a path of a lot of resistance, but still it was a path.
And after that, I committed to...
Kind of makes you want to ask yourself what kind of path you want, but it's all right. Any path you choose is fine. And what?
And it made me completely fall in love with myself.
Because during my unconsciousness, I reunited with my inner being, who loved me so completely that it's hard for me to forget. I could forget. I could focus back upon the problems of the world, and I could focus in a way that in time I could pull myself away from that. But I found alignment. Yeah.
And I committed to doing anything I could to have an amazing life. That's it. And then
Love myself.
To love myself. And I was like, I don't care about being successful with music anymore.
No.
Hold the phone.
You can't release your desire. What you're saying is, I don't want that resistance back.
I'll tell you what it is. It's the...
You tell us and then we'll tell you back.
I was like, actually... writing music is for me and my soul. It's not for like Capitol Records or whatever. It's
the way it's always got to be.
So it
got to leave everybody else out of the equation.
It reestablished my focal point with my ability to stream consciousness.
Yes, it did. We're just trying to help you, to keep you from talking yourself out of it.
Okay.
In other words, that's 100% of the guidance that we've been giving you here.
Yeah.
We've been talking. Now you're in this place where satisfaction is easily acquired for you. We're just showing you how to stay in the alignment that you discovered.
Yeah. And then, you know, I'm in like a trauma treatment center just writing songs on my acoustic guitar. That's all I'm focusing on, is loving myself. And I get this email that's like, from this massive producer being like, I want you to be my lead singer in this band, fully funded, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, what? I wasn't even... When I stopped trying...
Oh, do you understand that the process goes like this? Life and struggle and contrast and knowing what I don't want caused me to put a whole bunch into my vibrational reality. So it was real no matter what I was doing. This reality was real, and the cooperative components were being gathered whether I was ready or not. I wasn't ready, but the cooperative components were being gathered, because when I ask, it is given. So I was asking, not even knowing I was asking, just knowing what I didn't want. So I was asking for what I did want over and 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 over again, wanting to be an influencer for good, wanting to be of value to the world, wanting to make a boatload of money, wanting. So cooperative components being gathered. So step 1, step 2, step 3, we're speaking from your point of view. I took a sort of unconventional path into getting into the receiving mode, but I did release resistance through my coma, and I did find step 3. And so then, because I'd ask and it was already given, I let it in. Did you all hear?
And I went from emptiness to wholeness.
Yeah.
I went from
fullness,
lack, to completely fulfilled and satisfied and grateful, like to my core. And my whole family actually reunited because of what happened.
Yeah.
And
a lot of stuff in your vortex, wasn't there?
oh yeah,
A lot of asking.
Yeah.